Yeah. What's up? And welcome. As always, I'm your host. I'm Will Bryant. And we're back at it with another episode, another guest. This time, it's a new face. It's a new name. Someone I haven't really mentioned before. Someone I haven't seen in a long time, actually. I find out at some point during either part one or part two that it's actually been 9 years since I've last seen my my guest for this episode. He's an old coworker of mine and somebody I've always tried to or keep in touch with regardless of how long it's been since I've seen him. My buddy Josh Wagner came through, was in town for just a couple of days, and he was gracious enough to grace my podcast for the one of the few days that he was here in the city. Josh is he's got a lot going on in his life. He's a working actor. He started off actually doing radio. He's played hockey for most of his young life, and before he transitioned into what he now loves, and that's jiu-jitsu. We talk about all those types of things here in part one, and we do it all while enjoying his very own Scotch. He explains to us also in this episode how him and a couple of other family members actually purchased 2 barrels of Scotch from one of the best distilleries out there in Scotland. And speaking of Scotland, he also talks about how he's visited multiple times, not just for Scotch, but for acting. And he'll tell us about the, I believe it's called the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which is what brought him to Scotland originally the first time. Definitely has a lot of cool stories revolving around acting. His start in radio was really interesting to hear about. And we did it all while enjoying not one, but 2 different types of Scotch that he had bottled specifically for him and his family. I mean, the bottle had the man's name on it. Well, his family name, at least, Wagner. It's been a long time since I drank that much Scotch. Actually, I don't think I've ever drank that much Scotch. Part 2 was definitely a lot more cloudy in my memory than part 1, but that you're going to have to wait just one more week for. Until then, please enjoy my time with an old friend of mine and hopefully someone that you guys will come to enjoy as much as I do. Actor and Scotch maker, Josh Wagner. Can you do that voice to start us off with?
The big radio voice.
Oh, yeah.
All right, what do you want to hear? Well, I mean, I could just do Jason Statham. Like, who are you? I'm Jason Statham. What do you do? I do all kinds of things. I'm a delivery man. Yeah, whatever. I mean, like, I used to do imaging for the radio stations that I worked at because it was like a cluster.
What is imaging?
So imaging is, like when you hear the bumpers and things that are like radio 104, modern rock and alternative music, blah, 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 blah. Like that's what it is. It's basically captured audio that builds the image or the brand of the station.
Got it.
So and then on the flip side, there's that rock and pop on Kiss 95.7, stuff like that. And here's Casey Kasem, all that stuff. So it's it's just you have a station, at least in corporate radio, the station has an identity, and all imaging does is just to keep pushing that toward the to the listener.
Did you do it for a specific radio station?
So I worked for a hot minute for Clear Channel in Hartford, Connecticut.
I was gonna say you're a Connecticut kid, right?
Yeah, it's where I grew up, but I've lived a whole bunch of different places.
You've been everywhere, man.
I've been everywhere, man. I mean, not everywhere, but I've been a few spots. So yeah, the way that most radio stations are these days, because it's really expensive, is they will have 4 or 5 in a cluster, and because it doesn't take much to actually have a radio station. So in one area, and that was the one that I was predominantly in, it was a modern rock station. So it had all the things that a station would need: a program director, a music director, producers, talent, the whole thing. And it would be like, there were like 3 or 4 studios and then a couple offices in the back. And then next door, there was the same exact layout, but that was for classic rock.
Oh.
And then down the hall, that was pop. And then down the hall, that was country.
Would they be like the same parent company?
Yeah, it was all Clear Channel.
Oh,
at the
that's
time,
right, you
which
said
is
that.
now iHeartRadio.
Oh, got it.
So that was a whole thing.
Right.
It was like an antitrust thing, and they're like, "Okay, cool, we're gonna change things around."
Oh,
and then they
wow.
went.
I vaguely remember that.
So Clear Channel still exists, but I think they just do billboards. And iHeartRadio, yeah, because Clear Channel used to do billboards. They used to do terrestrial radio, and now iHeart was trying to get into like digital stuff. So then they moved to iHeart, and yeah. So I still have a few friends that work there, I don't think one of them's still in radio, but he works for a different, also very large radio company. But yeah, that's something I used to do, and that kind of got me into voice acting and general.
Was that your first foray into anything like that?
Yeah, in a way where it was like, oh, I need to learn a lot more.
Oh, okay.
I need to like,
how old are you when this
oh, geez, I was maybe 20.
Okay.
When I got in there. So
how did that happen?
So I went to school in Boston for a hot minute, right when I got out of high school, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I had no idea. And I got this like thing, you know how like colleges send out stuff like, look at us.
Yeah.
When you're like shopping around for schools, like right after high school, you know, even if you go or you don't. And it was leaflets for a place called no, that was later. It was the Massachusetts Communications College, also known as MassCom. I knew nothing about it. I went, I did a tour. I was like, this is awesome. It was for like an associate's degree. And I was like, okay, cool. So there's places I could live nearby. I can live in the dorms. I can go and I can get this associate's degree and then maybe like move on and do that. And it's radio. It sounds really cool. It's something that I've never done before. Awesome. So I went there and I fucked off.
Yeah.
Because I'm away really for the first time. It's a city. I was close to cities, but never like living in a city full time at that point. So yeah, I was a terrible child and I was a child.
Yeah.
So did the thing, realized that like, oh, I need to like get my shit together. And then by the time that happened and I started like actually going to class and actually applying myself, instead of just doing radio shows in the middle of the night to our streaming radio station, which that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, I went, oh, okay, cool. Then one of my friends who was dating someone in the registrar's office was like, so we're about to get bought.
The college?
The school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What does that mean? He goes, well, accreditation is going to change. So if you want to keep your credits in stuff that you like already have, because they did, it wasn't like a liberal arts thing, but they did have credits and it was a whole thing that you were able to keep. If you stayed at the school, the credits stayed in the school, but they wouldn't be able to be applied anywhere else. So I was like,
oh, I get it. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm almost done. He's like, yeah, you're not going to be done by the time that. And I went, okay, cool. So it was the right time. I pulled out and then I went back home and I moved back in with my parents and I started working as a lighting and sound tech for my godfather.
I just want to say I deserve a medal for not making a pull-out joke just now. But
it's okay.
Ahead.
It's all right. We were all thinking it. So I, so yeah, I moved back and I was working and then I went, I heard a thing for the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. And that's like a certificate program. It's only a few weeks, but it was almost like a job sort of pathway. And I was like, well, I already have this experience in radio production and stuff like that. Why don't I do that? So I did that. And then within a day after getting that certificate, I got a call from Clear Channel, specifically the Dee Snider Morning Show.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So he had a show.
Dee Snider, Twisted Sister, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So he had a show
for my younger listeners out there.
Yes. We're not going to take it,
They're like
that song.
Snyder, the pretzel company?
Yeah, no.
Oh, 1 second. Something very unprofessional. I forgot something very important.
Uh-oh.
We're not even going to cut that. This is how we do
Okay. I mean, that's fine.
it. Oh, yeah. I forgot
We shouldn't
to let
cut.
You choose.
Oh, no. I have a choice?
Oh, yeah.
Ah, shit.
You have to choose what color foam
pop
mic.
filter?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, man.
I like that. I was about to explain it like a layman. Little foamy thing for the mic. You're like, pop filter.
Yeah, pop filter.
Meanwhile, you just told me you went to school for like
Yeah,
radio.
right.
And I'm like, so
Just
this little foamy thing?
I don't know. So, okay, this is what sucks about having a brain that I have.
Okay.
I see these things and I do this. I have this thing called analysis paralysis. There is too many choices. There's too many choices.
Is that a real thing?
It's a real thing.
Wow.
And so like I'm looking at this. Also, it's a whole sensory thing. So I'm just like, this is great. I don't want to fuck this up.
I lost him.
I do like. I honestly, I do like the magenta.
Is that
magenta?
what we're calling-
Yes.
I didn't know if it was hot
little
pink or
matchy,
fuchsia or
little
magenta's cool.
matchy.
There we go.
No, it's great. You may want to turn me down for a hot second.
Look at this guy.
Thump,
It's
thump,
like
thump,
you.
thump.
It's like you went to
Thump,
school
thump,
for
thump,
this.
thump, 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 thump. Oh god. Oh god. Oh, now the pull-out joke would be perfect here. Oh god. Oh, we made it.
go.
We did it.
Yeah.
We got there in the end. Okay, so yeah, I worked for D. Snyder for a hot minute, and I only met the guy like twice.
I was gonna ask.
Because he remoted in from his studio in Long Island. Super cool. That was a great experience. I met a whole bunch of people. Like I would have never thought that CC DeVille, the guitarist from Poison, would be one of the nicest people
Really?
I have ever met. Oh yeah, like he came into CD, but D wasn't there, and there was a guitar in the corner of the studio, and he like picked it up and literally just started noodling, and it was like wild. It's not plugged into an amp or anything, but it's just he's like having a full on conversation
While doing that.
while noodling and like pulling stuff out, and just I'm like cool, and he was so sweet.
He's good at pulling stuff out too, huh?
Hey, see, you're paying attention. I love it. Speaking of pulling stuff out, I feel like this
what
is
a segue. You are. A
I
pro.
feel like this is a perfect time, and plus we would like I want to get this early.
Let's do it.
So again, about the whole like lived a life thing.
Okay.
So I also after that, after leaving Clear Channel, I ended up going to university in Connecticut, Western Connecticut State University, and every year or other year, our theater group, which I ended up translating all of my communication stuff into theater, and that's kind of how I got to where I am now.
You mean like credit wise?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Basically, I was in the Full Monty. We did the show, the Full Monty. And that was the first show that first legit show that I'd ever done, and I got naked on stage.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, like fully? No way.
Oh yeah, just
You did
whole
full
strip,
frontal.
full. Well, it was not quite because there was a turn and then everything was backlit, so everybody saw the butts.
Wow.
But the cast saw our cock socks.
No.
So yeah, we had to do that because we had some underage. But the last show we were like, these aren't working anymore. And we were just
You
like,
threw
forget it.
out the cock sock.
We kind of had to because it was
Wow.
time. Like they got plenty of, they were. We were all kind of like, this is enough. This is enough. Very constrictive. So yeah, we did that. But anyway, in that moment, in that time, I had grown up playing hockey and a lot of team sports, and that feeling of teamwork, everyone's doing something to get to a shared goal. That was huge for me. Wow. And seeing that happen and everyone's working together and and being able to put on this thing, and that show sold out every weekend for like 6 weekends.
Wow.
We made a ton of money at the school.
This is a school play.
Yeah, this is a university. So they didn't have a Dave, and then I walked in and I was like, "Hey."
Is that the Mark Addy character?
Yeah. So I did that.
Wow.
And it was really
That's
really
a huge
fun.
role too then.
Yeah.
For your
first thing.
gig.
The first thing, I mean, university, sure.
Yeah.
But Danbury, Connecticut, sure. And then from there, I just was like, this feels good. So let's continue.
You were studying like theater and play before you got that role?
Not really. Like I literally went from, I was an elective acting class for my communications major. And then there was this guy, his name was Sal Trapani. He's still there. I love him. And he's from Brooklyn, Sicilian. And he talks like this. How you doing? I'm Sal. So we need guys like you. We're doing the full Monty. You should come and audition, maybe. Okay. So, and if anyone who's watching this or hearing this knows Sal, they're probably
like,
howling.
Spot on.
But just know he's just a beloved guy. So yeah, I auditioned for it, and it was like that. And then the director is like, so do you have any night classes? And I was like, yeah, I have a few. She's like, you're gonna want to change those. I was like, oh.
And you were able to change your schedule, huh?
Well, yeah, I was able to change my schedule to something that worked, and then do the whole thing. And then I changed my major about halfway through
from
production, from communications to theater. Okay. They used to be one department, but then they split. I don't know, politics, whatever. But we're almost there. We're almost there, Will. Every year or 2 years, we would go to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Fringe.
Okay.
So
Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
Yes. Okay. In Edinburgh, Scotland, my friend.
Wait, you guys would go?
Uh-huh.
The class?
Yeah. A production would go.
Wow.
So we would go and we would perform there. And
my dumbass thought there was an Edinburgh in Connecticut.
No. Edinburgh, Scotland. However, there is a Scotland, Connecticut, which is
that's what I meant.
There's also a Brooklyn, Connecticut too. So there's a
nice.
But
is that where that guy was from? Brooklyn, Connecticut?
No,
because you didn't specify.
No, I didn't specify, but he was from Brooklyn, New York. So yeah, we would go to the Fringe Festival every year.
Which
2 years.
Is what?
It is the world's largest performing arts festival.
Wow.
It takes place during the entire month of August, and it's so difficult describing it to someone who has no context, but I'll do my best.
Did I just get insulted?
No. It's because the scope is so big.
Okay.
The scope is so big and so wide. It's like you think you have an idea, and then you go, and then you're like, oh, that idea was so small in comparison to everything that's there. So it started off as a fringe group of people who were like, okay, you're doing the Edinburgh International Festival, where they would pick like 2 or 3 high art plays or like ballets or something to be at the National Theater. And these people were like, well, what about us? What about us? Mm-hmm. So then that's the abridged version of how they started. And then so what you can do now is basically sign up. You're a venue, right? You're a bar. All you got is a soapbox. You sign up, they give you a number, and now you're a venue. And then depending on what the show is, depending on what the work is, you get assigned to that venue, or you can ask to be put in that venue. Uh-huh. And then they have show times. There's also a comedy festival at night, and it's a huge comedy festival. I
think this is why it sounded familiar to me. I've heard the comedy festival. Okay. Yeah.
For anybody who's in the UK or Europe, performing for like the entire month at the Fringe Festival is like a really big deal.
Got it.
And a lot of times people will get sponsored by like bigger groups to perform at the Fringe. Anyway, so then there's the military tattoo, which happens at Edinburgh Castle. So they have this giant parking lot.
What is that?
So it's this giant parking lot. And then they put up these aluminum bleachers, and it basically turns it into about the size of a football field.
Okay.
And these people come and they sit, and then coming from the gates of the castle are all these pipe and drum bands, like doing bagpipes and drums and like throwing fake rifles, like doing like color guard stuff and crazy. And it's wild and it's great. Like it's a really great show. And then when they're done, they fire off a cannon. They fire off fireworks. And it's a whole huge thing. And the entire city, like it's a beautiful city to visit at any time of year. But when it like during the Fringe Festival is like, it's it's not the same at all. So if someone's like, oh yeah, I'm going to Edinburgh, I'm like, when are you going?
Right.
So we're going in August. I'm like, oh, you're about to experience. Yeah. It's like, oh, you're in it. Like, you're
August
in
is when it happens.
Whole August.
Got
oh,
it.
we're going in September. I'm like, oh, there's the fallout.
Damn.
But yeah, like you would have to like hawk your product on the Royal Mile. So it's from there's this mile stretch of road all the way like from a park all the way up to the castle. And they put up these kiosks for people to basically do a bit of their show, talk it, try and sell tickets. So we did that a whole bunch.
For the Full Monty show?
Oh, no. Oh. I went there twice. And the first time we did Romeo and Juliet, a rock and roll love story. And we got panned. We got panned.
No way.
Only because the music wasn't really rock and roll.
Oh.
It was a little new agey.
Okay.
It was kind of rock and roll, but like not quite rock.
What
Like what the rock and roll people were saying. It was almost like early 70s glam rock, like coming off of the 60s. Not quite. Mm-hmm. It's like if it picked the lane to be like 70s, 80s, we would have nailed it.
Really?
But the person who wrote the music,
I was going to ask,
the music
is it original music?
Yeah, but it was to like, and we did Shakespeare's words.
Who'd you play?
I was Friar Lawrence. That was that was fun. They gothed me out. I was like, all right, I could live with this. It's fine.
You do give off friar vibes, I guess.
I do. I am not a holy man though.
You're the drunken close. Friar.
So then my mom and my uncle came to visit. They came to like the last week because my uncle had never been to Ireland before, and at that point he'd never been to Scotland. My mom had never been to Scotland, and they were like, well, why don't we go to Ireland after? We'll go visit you. We'll make a trip out of it, and then we'll get our Irish citizenship stuff. Huh. So that was a whole nother journey. But the second year, my dad ended up coming as well. He wasn't able to the first year for medical stuff. And for the first half that they were there, they went to the western side of the island. That's where all of the distilleries are. And all of them have different schemes. Like Bowmore has like a bed and breakfast. That's amazing. Lefroy, you can buy 1 square foot of land and you get whatever it yields. Like
really?
You get like
That's
paid.
funny.
You get like paid back. But they all have schemes to like keep the distilleries running while either product is being made or shipped or whatever. So the Bruichladdich Distillery, they had a fun one. If you bought a barrel, you could have it. You could either sell the barrel back to them, which is a really good investment because Scotch doesn't go down in value, or you can sell half of it back to them, and then they will bottle and label your Scotch.
Wow.
So I think there were 5 of us. So my Uncle Jay, my Uncle Charlie, me, my dad, my Uncle Jimmy. We all got together and we're like, let's do it. So we bought 2 barrels.
Wow. I'm so excited.
This is the big reveal.
This is theater, folks. This is theater of the podcast.
This is theater.
Look
so
at
this is one of my Scotches.
Wow.
And this is 2.
It has your names on it.
It actually has our name.
Wagner, Kuhn, and
Zeritis. Yeah.
It's a Bruichladdich?
Bruichladdich. Yep.
Wow.
Bruichladdich. So the darker
Private cask bottling, aged 10 years.
So it's actually 11 because of COVID.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they ended up having to wait
an extra
they just
year.
Didn't have it. So the darker one is Rive Salt, which is like a sweeter French wine, almost like a sherry. But I think it's a little drier. And then the lighter one is a bourbon cask.
Wow.
Yes. So yeah, well, we're here. Which would you like to try first?
The whiskey man in me has to go with the bourbon cask barrel.
And it's really interesting because I to see who likes what. It's very, very fun for me.
Really? So you've had these You've had plenty of these before, or
so
right.
we think we got the delivery in 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you bought the barrel, that was 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're waiting the entire process.
Waiting the whole time while we were working together at Paragon. Was waiting the whole time. Waiting the whole time. Also, there's something that I do, and it's something that you have you said. We used to work with a person, and you're gonna know exactly who I'm talking about, but I'm not gonna name names.
Okay.
So one day, you looked directly at me, and you went, "Ruin my day," and I went, "What? Ruin my day? What are you talking about? Ruin my day?" And it's just like,
Still say that.
check,
I said it on this show.
check this out. Ruin my day. And I was like, you have to tell me why.
I said it to you.
You said it to me specifically. Right to me. I was like, is it something that I did? He goes, no. I saw her and I had an interaction with her. I was having a great day up until then. Ruined my day. And I say that all the time. I'm like, I'm at my day job and I'm like, ruined my day. And then someone's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't, buddy. I can't. It's too deep. It's such a deep cut. So I just wanted to let you know that like I have carried that away from our years long friendship.
My light is continued. I'm honored now for two reasons, not just for this scotch, but because of you take a little part
Absolutely,
of it.
man.
Thank you, dude.
So yes, and it's good that the ice cube melted a little bit. So it's real hot. It's very hot if it's just on its own.
Yeah.
But I prefer a little bit of ice and maybe a little bit of water.
Yeah, water.
It just really mellows it out, really brings out flavor, really brings out the smokiness, the oakiness, right?
So I'm already feeling this is what I love about whiskeys in general. And I typically don't gravitate towards scotch often. And this is gonna sound douchey unless it's like good scotch. I think it probably comes from like the first time I ever had scotch really was a Blue Label. And I remember thinking, and I swear I might have like just turned like 30 at the time. And I remember thinking like, oh, I'd never like really liked scotch, but this is good. Am I getting old or am I finally maturing? You know?
Yes.
But then, I had some other scotches that I wasn't too big of a fan of, because I didn't like, black or definitely Red Label. I've had Monkey Shoulder, not a huge fan, but because I started off my bartending career as a bar back in a whiskey bar, they had like over 100. So when I saw the Bruichladdich on that label, that's one of the ones I liked. They have that really blue bottle.
Is that the Port Charlotte?
I don't remember. No.
Or is that the Laddie, classic Laddie?
I think it's a classic Laddie.
Yeah.
And I like that. I always enjoyed that because I do enjoy, if I'm doing a scotch, I like the smokiness. I want that from a scotch. Bruichladdich was always pretty smoky. I don't know if you've ever had, they had a black bottle one called like the Octo something.
Yeah.
Which is like a smoke, it's like a peat bomb essentially.
Yes. I know the exact one you're talking about.
Yeah.
They have so many names, I can't really keep up with them, but if telling me tasting notes, I'm like, I probably have.
Right.
Plus, we kind of did a deep dive from the time that we got the barrels. We were just like, we're going to try all the Bruichladdich stuff that we see.
Right.
So, yes.
So was it specifically a Bruichladdich distillery or yeah, okay.
Yeah, from the distillery specifically. Mary was the person that helped us. She's been lovely through the whole process. They don't do it anymore.
Oh.
Like we were one of the last to get done. Yeah. So they basically brought over a whole pallet and we distributed it out to the 5 of us through the pallet. We only lost 1 bottle in transit.
Wow.
Amazing.
How many bottles does it yield?
It was a few hundred.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a few hundred. More than a few hundred.
Wow.
Yeah. So we parsed them out and everything was good. 6 bottles per box.
Okay.
So it was, we got a lot. It was good. It was good. So, yeah, what's interesting is the art of making scotch is the exact same everywhere you go. The only difference is where the ingredients come from and
Right.
how the ingredients come and the air and the soil and all that. It's really, really wild. So Bruichladdich, I want to say, is it Speyside? I don't know. I don't remember. But different regions have very distinct stuff. I think
Right.
this is Islay. So Islay.
I was about to say, I thought the smokier ones were more of the islands, right?
Yeah. So
I had to read.
read.
I'm ashamed to say this, but I'm not ashamed to say the first part. Ashamed to say the second part. The first part I'm proud of. I had to read a bunch of books before my first GM ever would ever even let me bartend, and one of them was a whiskey book in general where they broke down everything. And I remember I had to learn the different regions of Scotland and what were the.
That's a good lad. I love it. You're learning in different parts of Scotland. It's grand.
And each part, each region does have very unique notes to their.
It's wild.
Yeah, and I do believe I'm gonna just guess that it was. I remember I used to call it Islay when I was reading it.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, but I remember that one. I remember thinking like, I'm pretty sure that's the smoky one because that's the one that I gravitate towards. When I'm doing other things like bourbons, I might air more towards the sweeter side actually. Ryes I enjoy, give me that heat, but I like the smokiness from the Scotch.
Yeah, so like I forgot,
Which is why, not to cut you off, one of my favorite cocktails, have you ever had a penicillin?
yeah,
So that they usually top it off with a very smoky peaty Scotch, and I just love the aroma you get right before your lips even touch it.
Absolutely.
I think it's an excellent drink, one of my favorites.
yeah, that is nice. Oh, yum.
You touched on something that I definitely wanted to. Well, first of all, you brought up how we met or where we met.
Yeah.
We worked at Paragon together.
Paragon Sports,
And
baby.
I've talked about Paragon Sports here too.
God. I have so many feelings.
I'm really bad with years.
Me too.
I was gonna say, do you know what years we were at Paragon?
I think it was like 2013, 2014.
Right. Was
I think
it?
it was around there.
I was so off.
I was there for like about a year.
Yeah.
About that.
I think I was there for like 2. So
Yeah. Oh man. And then I went to a different retail establishment that was wildly different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
I started
remember
working
if
at Apple.
were you? Oh wait, you left
Yeah, I
before
left.
me, right?
Yes, I
That's
did.
right. I remember
Yeah, I
you
did.
got the job at Apple, and it was we were like, he's going on to greener
Yes,
pastures.
he's ascending.
Yeah.
Like, damn right I am. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't remember if I got bumped up to the offices before or after you left.
No, it
Yeah.
was after I left for
Okay.
sure. Oh my God, you went to the Ivory Tower.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Which is literally just 2 floors above where we worked
know.
every day.
I
And
know.
if you've ever been up there, the floors, they're the creakiest wooden floors. Yeah, I've never walked on a hardwood floor and sank with
Yeah.
every step. It was
Yeah.
wild. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So we worked together. So I was in the team sports department.
Yep.
And right next to our department was the hockey division, which I know sounds like a team sport, but like hockey had its own equipment and
Yeah.
skates that needed its own people. And I always took, because I had very little to be proud of back then. So I took a little bit of pride in being one of like the 2 or 3 team sports guys. That
You were cross-trained so well.
Yeah.
Like I know, because I mean I grew up playing it, and then I went away from it, and then the whole gear aspect of it was totally different. So
Right.
here I am. I learned a whole ton.
Because someone that was playing hockey growing up and then isn't the technology of the gear and
Absolutely
the skates is
changed.
day and night.
So different. I grew
You
up
almost
with
had to
leather skates.
relearn
Yeah.
hockey gear.
100%. I was like, my old skates were just leather.
Right.
What is this?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
It's all carbon fiber and like detachable blades. I'm like, I don't know. Okay. 2020 call, baby. So yeah, and that was totally wild. And then like the just so much going on. And then with the protective equipment, there was like different gel packs and stuff like that absorb things. I was like, this is crazy. And
Shock distribution and
for
all that
selling stuff,
Yeah,
it's all stuff you need to know. For playing, it's just like, is this gonna make sure that I don't get hurt? Great.
exactly.
So yeah, but I remember every once in a while when things would get silly busy, I'd be like, hey Will, can you help a little bit? And you just jump right in and you just
Hockey.
kill it.
First of all, working in the hockey division and the crew in hockey to me was way more fun than the team sports crew.
Yeah.
So team sports was basically, do you have this jersey?
Yeah.
Do you have these socks or whatever? Do you have whatever like this Knicks gear? Hockey, I sold in team sports. I was selling the hockey jerseys. Like I was selling the St. Louis jerseys back in the day. But the hockey division was outfitting the hockey player for their gear. And that to me, like that's suddenly no one came into Paragon Sports and showed the salesman respect if all you were handing them was a LeBron jersey. But if suddenly you're talking to them about carbon fiber sticks and $800 skates and you're fitting them and you can even like I was when Halpin finally let me start sharpening skates, I was like,
you actually got to sharpen skates?
Yeah.
So oh my God. That's like learning how the sausage is made on a totally different level. And you're like, wait a second. That little hollow is how people actually propel themselves on ice. And there's different depths and there's different angles.
It was, I always found, I was a little proud of myself first. I never played hockey, and it got to the point where I was like giving details about gear to the hockey players, like, oh, the flex on this is actually whatever, the fucking the difference between the Supreme and the remember when that was when Easton came out with the Mako skate? I don't know if
they came out with the Mako skate.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I don't even think that held
it. People loved it for when it was around, but it just did not sell very well because it was difficult to get your foot in and out of. Oh yeah. But once your foot was in, it was like you never wanted to take it off.
So what's funny, when I finally like was really like allowed to like just be fully a part of, I was never a hockey member, but there was never any pullback when they needed help or whatever, especially 100%. Hockey season, dude. I would clock in and we would be lacing up people's ice skates for 8 hours.
Yep.
And then clock out, and whoever was sharpening ice skates would leave with like metal in their nose, in their mouth. Yeah, it was crazy.
I remember speaking that reminds me. So years later, I'm at my parents' house, and I'm like, something's really itchy in my nose, and I don't know what it is, and like I just start like blowing my nose super, super hard. It was a piece of metal.
Oh man!
And when I was like, I know where this is from. Exactly. The last time that I was anywhere near it was from that. It was from actually sharpening in Paragon Sports in the basement, in the dungeon, way in the back. Oh,
because if people don't know, let's explain to the layman's. Like when you buy a pair of ice skates, if you go right onto the ice with that brand new pair of ice skates,
it doesn't work.
You're just gonna fall because there's no sharpened edges on it.
It doesn't work.
And also, it's not sharpened like a knife to one point.
Yeah,
that blade,
which is a misconception.
I know, and I didn't know that till before I worked there. The blade is sharpened at both like edges, and the inside of the middle of the blade is like a curvature.
Yeah, it's actually called a hollow.
A hollow.
Yeah, so
and you can actually dictate the exact depth of that hollow in a blade because it'll affect the minutia in your like maneuvering on the ice,
in your stride, in how the blade actually grips the ice. Some people like a certain one. Some people like don't care.
Right.
Like there's this player. He's a Hall of Fame player, Jerome McGinley, and famously known for just not thinking about what he says before he says it. And one day someone was like, yeah, what do you know? Like, tell us about your skates. He's like, I don't care. Put them on my feet. And I was like, that's my man.
Yeah.
But there are some people who get dialed in so hard. And a lot of them are like D-League level players that are playing for the Stanley Cup every single time that they step on the ice. A lot of times, like, bro, it's the difference between a 5/8 and a half-inch hollow is not going to change your life.
You know what?
But it can once your body gets used to the physics of it.
Roy, remember Roy?
How could I forget Roy? I still think about some of Roy's stories about him growing up in the jungle and him coming to work. So I all right. Sometimes I look at people and I just go, "You are so Hab, aren't you?" And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Hab, high as balls." He was
Always,
my god.
always,
oh my god.
Always.
Oh, Roy.
So
sweet Roy.
So Roy told me something that made all the sense in the world, and I never forgot it. He said, "Bro," and it had to do, where one day, the lower level organized a soccer night where, honestly, like 22, 23, 24 of us all went to a soccer field after work.
Okay.
And we played like full on, like 11 on 11, like
wow,
like full field soccer. And I had not played soccer since my mom signed me up when I was like a 10-year-old. Okay, and even then I was not good. Mm-hmm. However, I did work in team sports, and at that time I was a merchandiser or whatever. And My boss at the time was always pretty cool with just like giving me like extra shit or whatever. So I came to that soccer game geared up like I was in the World Cup. I had the newest. I literally had the World Cup was happening. I had Messi's World Cup cleats.
Funny.
I had.
Oh my god.
I had the everything was matching on me. And so we go to the soccer field, right?
That's like Halpin was big on that.
So we were at the soccer fields. There's like 20 something of us, and like the two best players, like the ones that come to play soccer, like they know who the two best players are. So they're like, we're just gonna be captains, and
sure,
no one argues. They're like, fine. The first guy picks like his friend that he knows is dope. Second guy picks his friend he knows is dope. First guy's up again. I'm the third overall pick, and I told him right away, you just fucked us up. He was like, he literally chose me based off of my gear.
Oh no.
And I was like, dude, I'm a merchandiser for team sports. Like, I didn't earn any of this.
My god.
And like, he thinks that he just like drafted himself the ringer. Meanwhile, Roy is watching, like cracking up, like
yes. Oh my god.
Because Roy knows.
Roy absolutely knows. And Roy is a great soccer player.
Great.
Roy's great. So, oh my god.
He's dying. Yeah. Probably smoking a joint.
Oh,
He's
probably
dying. And I'm like looking at him from like next to my captain, like,
oh my god.
And then the moment that we start playing, my captain just looks at me like, what the fuck is this shit?
I told you. I told you.
I did. I was like, I told you, bro. I told you. I'll give you on trade cleats.
Funny.
And Roy, that's when Roy told me this story. He's like, bro, growing up where I grew up, you were never worried about the dude that showed up.
Didn't matter.
Like
yeah.
He's like, you know who you got to be afraid of? The guy that just got off of work and is down to play in his slacks and his dress shoes, because you know that motherfucker.
Yep. Doesn't matter what they got on. Doesn't matter what they got on. And you know, it's funny you should say that, because like when I came back from London, because I lived in London for a little bit, and I moved to Philly. And then I started training Brazilian jiu-jitsu,
which I definitely want to get into. But.
Okay, cool. So yeah, there would be dudes that would show up for an open mat, and their gis would be atrocious. And then you look at their belts, and they were just like so beaten up. And like the younger, I say younger belts, white belts and stuff. They just walk up, and I'm like, that guy's a killer. It's like, that guy's a killer. He's like, be careful. Mm-hmm. Have a fun roll. Don't be mean.
Yeah.
Don't do something stupid. That guy's a killer. And then sure enough, they like try to do something, and they like, be a little bit super tense, and then dude would just like do it with a smile, like sweep him over, and then done. And they're like, oh my God, that was so crazy. It's like, yeah, it really wasn't. But yeah, like that was fine. But yeah, man. It's you are 100% right. Always worry about the dude who looks out of place.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In a place like that.
Yeah.
Like, oh man. No.
That's why when I
was reminded of something.
Whenever I be working at Paragon and fitting people for hockey, when they were like so like intent on the details, in my head I was like, this guy probably sucks. I, a man who never played hockey a minute in my life, was like, that guy's probably a bender.
So,
Which,
yes.
by the way, you guys taught me
Yes,
what bender
a
was.
bender. And if anybody's wondering what a bender is,
Please.
it's someone who doesn't have the ankle support and their ankles bend in. So it's like the actual like inside edge is on the outside. They even made a TV show called Benders. It was on like IFC
really?
for a hot minute. It was all right.
Yeah.
But speaking of TV shows that have to do with hockey, Letterkenny and Shoresy, amazing.
Really?
Absolutely amazing.
Is Letterkenny Canadian?
Yes. I could talk about Jared Kiso for days. I have so much respect for him as a performer, as a creator, as a director. And he picks all the music for the show. Dude's musical taste is fantastic. Like, I legit want to have a few scotches with him and just shoot the shit. Like, he seems super, super awesome. And his story is just great. But that's not why we're here. Yeah, so like it's being a bender is definitely a derogatory term. Like, it really is a derogatory term. Unless you're friends with that person and then it becomes a weird term of endearment, even if they're bad. You're like, come on, bender.
Well, that's funny because that's the relationship I had with a lot of the hockey crew in Paragon. Like, I took a lot of the dude. I don't think that the crew in Paragon, the hockey crew, like in that era, we wouldn't survive in 2024 because the shit that we were saying to each other,
it was so off color. In the comedy community, it was blue.
Yo, yeah,
Very blue. Oh, buddy. And then our boss.
oh god,
Like,
yeah,
whew, our bosses.
Yeah.
Multiple bosses. It was just like, what is happening? And then when I went to Apple, I was like, it's not Paragon. It's not Paragon. It's not.
Right.
Oh, it's definitely not Paragon. So yeah, it's like, oh, this is not how the rest of the world
However,
works.
I will say I always struck you as like perhaps the nicer or even the nicest of the crew. You were always kind of like around for the jokes,
Yeah.
but like you were never the source of the bad ones. Like,
Yeah,
you were,
no,
'cause there's
yeah.
some shit that would get like pretty much all of us canceled.
Well, I remember Diaz.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
I always wondered what happened to him. I hope he's doing okay.
yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Especially
he was
now that
doing
I'm getting into comedy.
Yeah,
and
because
shit,
he was
yeah.
doing stand up and stuff. And I remember like we would talk about jokes and like there would be times where things would get like real dead. Especially when it was off season and it was like rollerblade season and no one was coming out or it was too early or too late. There was those two pockets.
Yeah,
Where it was like,
not
what
much.
are we gonna do?
Yeah.
We sit around and we BS. And I just remember like there was one time Diaz went off on one of our colleagues and just slayed, just joke after joke after joke after joke. And they were, if you were paying attention, it was like super mean,
Yeah.
but it was so funny that you were just like, this person is being eviscerated, but I can't stop laughing. And I'm standing back going, I understand comedy. This isn't good. This is great. This isn't good. Oh my God. And then he just didn't get it. And then like weeks after, Diaz would just drop one of those jokes. I'm like, oh. But yeah, like he far more talented than I think he even realized.
Maybe.
Yeah, but even still, like I do remember times where I would just kind of sit back and laugh and be like, I'm not getting in in
Yeah,
this.
you were too smart for
I'm
that.
like I understand how HR works. If someone comes in, I don't want that mess.
done.
I don't want that
Yeah.
mess. Yeah, but we did. Oh man,
It was,
blue.
dude, I'm not, honestly, like, there was some just inappropriate in every way
Yeah.
humor between us that I'm not gonna lie, like, I never, like, walked away, like, angry or
Right.
like, we would go out, like, for beers and wings and, like,
Yeah. Oh man, that was fun.
yeah.
But I feel like that's also a level of context and a level of understanding that when you're with certain people and a group of certain people for 8 hours a day
Right.
for a year,
Yeah.
you start to understand. And like, I think, I don't know if anyone really went over the edge. I remember there was one time, and I think it was Roy. I think Roy pushed you over the edge once
Me?
Yeah, it was just something stupid.
I don't know. I got to think about that one. I don't really know.
Yeah, you were heated one day, and you're just like, I can't be in the same room as Roy.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was.
I really wonder what it was.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but like at the end of the day, you're like, nah, I'm cool. I was like, that's all right. But it's also Roy. So
yeah, I'm trying to think because with Roy, who's like from I think Trinidad or something, or Ghana, right? Like it wouldn't be something racial that pissed me off, but Roy could get obnoxious every now. Maybe I was just really annoyed.
Maybe because people do this. They will beat a joke, kill a joke. Once it's funny, doesn't mean it's forever.
Yeah.
So
nice.
And it just bang, bang,
Maybe
bang.
that's what
And
it
I
was,
think
yeah.
that might have been what it was. But I just remember you were so heated because we had this back room, and that's where the skate sharpening happened. That's where all the skates lived.
Yes.
And you just came in, you're like, I can't be out there right now. I'm sharpening skates. I'm like, okay, buddy. I'm like falling over because I'm so like mesmerized. I'm like, I don't even know. Oh, oops. Gotta put on a new blade. Pop. But yeah, that was definitely a time. And I just remember you were so heated that day, but it was gone. And because you knew Roy and you knew, you know what was happening. There were definitely some people that said some.
Yeah, no.
Shit.
I remember there was a time that one of the, I think he like recently got moved to team sports and this like, I'm not gonna say his name. I don't even remember his name, but he was like. This like Italian dude that was like legit like racist and sexist, and he called Diaz a porch monkey one day.
Was I still there?
I
don't know.
I don't know. Diaz like lost his shit, and Mackie, I love Mackie. He was the supervisor at the time, and he was like,
then yes,
he was a brand new supervisor. And he was like, I remember talking to me like. I don't really know what to do. Like, this is like kind of serious or whatever. I was like, I think maybe
you should escalate this, friend.
Yeah. Like, let someone more important than you know 100%. About it. Yeah, and he did. Yeah,
which is the right thing to do.
And that guy, I now remember his name. I'm not gonna say it.
No, don't.
That guy got like a warning about it. Where that nowadays you're done,
bruh. Mm-hmm. As for the places that I've worked, especially like retail, since moving on from Paragon. Paragon internally is a dumpster fire. Mm-hmm. And I don't mind saying that because it can be fixed. Mm-hmm. It's the choice of not fixing it.
Yeah.
But
I'm pretty open about having like not enjoying my time there.
Yeah. It was like, I didn't enjoy my time with anything that happened outside that room.
Right.
I didn't enjoy my time.
I enjoyed you guys.
Yes. The time that I enjoyed was I really liked helping customers find the right stuff for them because they might not know. Mm-hmm.
Which is why I liked working in hockey instead of team sports.
Totally. And so, well, I'm just in from out of town. I want a Knicks jersey.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, okay, cool. Who do you want? I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'm English. What am I going to do? All right. Cool, buddy. Here, have this one.
That's how I learned at the time that I can fit into kids extra large. Because it was like Christmas time and someone just walked up to me and they were just holding a jersey up like right near me.
Because there were, and it probably was someone who didn't speak.
It was someone. It was someone
like
foreign.
European or something.
And they're like, you're about the size of you're my 12-year-old son.
The size of my 12-year-old.
You put on, so I see. And we worked on commission, so I was like, okay.
Okay, yeah. Oh my god.
And then I put it on, and he's like,
again.
and he's like, that is parfait. I don't know why I just turned to French.
You turned to French, perfect.
And then that's when I looked. I was like, this is actually not bad, and it's $30 cheaper. And I swear to God, like a week later, I bought a Mellow jersey. It's right, it's next door. It's like it's
that's so funny.
Kids extra large.
Kids extra large, man. Everybody's sleeping on it.
And dude, my friends know this. I wore kids extra large for a lot of shit for a long time. Because like I was a big guy, and when I lost a bunch of weight, I was like, I'm going to fucking show the world.
You were not a big guy.
No, because you never saw the pictures.
Not
of me.
before. No, I did. I thought
those pictures were pretty popular.
I met you after.
Definitely, for sure. At Paragon, I was already in my skinny phase, for sure.
Yeah, but I never knew you as a large man.
No. Yeah. I was 225 at 5'8".
Oh, man.
Yeah, and you like, right now I'm like 170, but like at that time I was probably like walking around at 155. You know,
Yeah.
like so.
Yeah, you were a swarthy lad. Swarthy lad.
So we worked at the hockey department together. How long you played hockey as a kid?
4 years old. That's when I started playing.
Oh wow.
4 years old. So I lived across the street from a rink at a school called Taft.
Were you Hartford, Connecticut?
No.
Okay.
No.
I associate Hartford with you because you're the one
Hartford.
You're the one. Sorry for mispronouncing it. You're the one that roughly educated me on the Whalers.
Oh, bruh.
Sorry.
Oh, that's so. Oh, the whale. Oh, and this is when you cue Brass Bonanza. Da, 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 da. All right, so the Whalers are a cultural phenomenon that lived in a flashpoint of existence that can never be replicated. However, everyone wants them. So the Whalers,
By the way, Hartford Whalers are an NHL team.
were
Correct. I was gonna say that no longer exists. Who did they become?
Carolina. And it's funny you should bring this up because Carolina just did their retro night. Yeah, so
Did they do Whaler jerseys?
they wore Whalers jerseys. They wore Whalers jerseys.
Sweaters.
They full on jerseys.
Was there? Wait, I thought there were hockey sweaters
They used to be sweaters. Like they legit used to be sweaters back in the day.
because I know like some old school people call them hockey
sweaters.
Right?
Yeah. So the Whalers. Now this is a fun fact. Fun fact number 952. The Whalers, the Hartford Whalers logo apparel is the number one selling in the NHL.
What?
Number one selling.
Right now?
Ever.
Oh wow.
Especially with the nostalgia factor. Because the Whalers don't exist anymore. And then they put out a Whalers thing, goes, done, sells out, gone.
Whalers is a great.
It's a fantastic logo.
I love
It's a fantastic
when a team
logo.
name is like associated with like some blue collar ass job of the place. And like there's a couple like the Whalers, literally whaling was a thing in Connecticut, right?
Yeah.
Other names that remind me of that, like the Green Bay Packers is for like meat packing, I'm pretty sure. The Steelers, they work in steel. The Houston Oilers back in the day.
Houston Oilers, for
I
sure.
love these types of names, you know.
Yeah.
Like and to me, like the Whalers, it has. Also, they don't make logos like that anymore. You know,
They don't.
Now a Whaler logo would be like a fucking whale with an angry face on it or something. You know, like a San Jose shark, which I don't mind. But
This logo, it's a W with the whale tail on the top, but an H in the middle. And a lot of people just see the big W and they're like, oh, whales, the whale tail. But then you look and the H is right in front of you. And it's like, wait a second. This is simple and it's interesting and it's cool and it's not overpowering. And it's just the blue and the green. And then there's that little whale patch on the side with the blowhole. Like, it's great. It's great. Now, here's the thing. The Whalers never got past the first round of the playoffs.
Really?
Ever. And my dad had season tickets for as long as I could remember. And I used to go to games all the time. And at one point, I went to a hockey camp with a guy who was a goalie for the Whalers for a hot minute named Mike Visor. I went to the Hockey Hall of Fame. They actually have this,
which is where?
In Toronto.
Okay.
Amazing. It's such a well curated sports place. So if you're ever in town, 100% go. But they had this whole goalie thing. Sure enough, I find Mike Visor's mask. I was like, I know that guy. Oh my god! But I was like 16, and Mike was like, "You're big, you're fast, you're pretty okay." He was, being nice. I'm like, yeah, no, I suck, Mike. I'm terrible. I'm dog shit. He's like, stop being modest. I need you to come here on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for like the next 2 or 3 weeks. Okay. I ended up being a practice player with them, just like a fill-in practice player.
Wait, where?
For the Whalers.
Wow.
Yeah. When I was 16, 17.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So.
And you were already a fan by then, I'm assuming.
I lived it.
Okay.
I was like, with like booster club stuff. I had been part of the whole thing. I wasn't like a fan because the Whalers were dog shit. Like they just weren't good. But I knew everybody. Okay. I was a fan of the sport more so than anything else.
Oh, okay.
Like I loved going to games just for the sake of the game.
Okay.
Like,
so when you weren't then heartbroken when the move happened?
Yes, for different reasons.
Okay.
Because I wasn't heartbroken as like a Whalers fan. I was heartbroken as a hockey fan, because that meant that I would have to either go to Boston or to New York to see Wayne Gretzky or Mario Lemieux play. I would, or for, you know, a certain team to come to town to play these guys that, like, I knew they were grinding, they were working so hard to just stay in there, and I was rooting for them from the point of view is like these guys are the consummate underdogs. Like, that's where it came from. I was just like, the whole thing was messy. The whole thing was so messy. Like, Peter Karmanos was the owner at the time, and I'll never forget it. People like made banners like out of like shoe polish and like king size bed sheets, and they like put them all over the Civic Center. Oh my God, dude. It was like if you took Slapshot and Major League and put them together in the last 3 months, it was there. And it was really, really heartbreaking. Like but it wasn't at the same time. Part of the reason that the Whalers existed in the NHL was because of Mark Howe, Gordie Howe's son. Gordie Howe ended up playing for the Whalers in their first one or two inaugural seasons. But they had the Whalers alumni team. What
is that?
It's like the Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh.
And they would do fundraising all across the state, all over the place. And oh man, I'm so excited to tell you this story. If anybody doesn't know, Gordie Howe, he's got a name, Mr. Hockey. It's a whole Gordie Howe is a legend. Players of all time. Legend. So
would you put him top 5 all time, you think?
As like an overall player, yes, I would.
Okay.
He had hockey sense that people didn't have for years after. If you put him in the NHL now, he would kill people. Like just the way he plays.
Yeah. The rules are so protective now.
But anyway, so like there would be these legendary names that would be wearing Whalers jerseys, and they would play against coaches and other people, like coaches and parents of like the youth hockey that they were at. Okay. So I never played in those games because I was too young. My uncle did. And one day they were playing, just doing fundraiser. The players and coaches of the town team, they got up like 4-0 in the first period. And Gordie Howe goes, "All right, boys, light them up." 6-4. 6-4. We're like, all right. So I lived across the street from this rink, and then the game had ended. We all had a great time. It was super fun. Of course, it was hockey. It was good hockey. It was fun hockey. It was truly old time hocky. And then I'm sitting there, and I had practiced earlier that day, so all of my stuff is in the kitchen and it's airing out. I am 6-7 years old at this point. Oof. I've never been a small person. So then my room was above the kitchen, and then I just hear this knock on the kitchen door. And then I run downstairs, and I open the door, and I see this guy, and his face is bright fucking red. Bright red. He's an older guy. And then, "Is your dad home?" I was like, "Yeah, let me get him." So I grab my dad. My dad goes, "Oh, hey, yo, come on in." And this old guy was looking for the previous owner of the house, Henry Long. Henry Long and this guy had been friends. So he goes, "Oh, no, Henry lives on the other side of town now. We just bought this house." I was, "Oh, okay, cool." And my dad goes, "Well, we'll call you a cab. We'll send you over to Henry's." He's like, "Oh, yeah, Liz." He's got this little tiny bag, this little tiny duffel bag. And I just remember we sat in our dining room, which was just right next door to the kitchen. And this dude was just telling stories. And I'm sitting there, I'm just like, he goes, "Hey, fatty, is that your gear?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "How long have you been playing for?" I was like, "I don't know, since I was like 4." He goes, "Oh, good. All right, well, that's great." And we just start talking. Dude's fucking hammered. Hammered. And it was Gordie Howe. Oh, he came to my door because he thought it was Henry's house. So he just, I spent like a half an hour with Gordie Howe and had no idea, no clue. and he's just telling stories about him and Henry, and because Henry used to play in not a minor league, but it was before the NHL really happened. Henry founded a company called Keeler and Long, and he actually came up with a formula for a paint. Henry was like good.
Okay.
But it was a pretty small town. Henry, great guy. Flash forward like 5-6 years in the future, they kept coming and they kept doing their thing. Henry made a pond in his front yard, and he would invite some of the guys over, some of the kids, and I was like maybe 14 at this point. No, I was like 13 at this point. And so it was me and a bunch of guys that we played together that lived over by Henry. And then so we're all skating on his pond. Henry's in the house. This cab rolls up, and just this door opens, and this little bag that comes out. And I was like, oh no, guys. Oh no. Henry comes out of the door. He goes, hey, Josh, go get the 2-4 in the back. I went, okay. A 2-4 for the uninitiated is a 24 pack of beer. It's a Canadian. It's Canadian. Yeah, I'm going to get a 2-4. So I went. I got a case of beer. I brought it up, put it in the snow, and then Henry's lacing up his skates. And who should come out of the car? Gordie fucking Howe. So Gordie Howe and Henry Long. It was the two of them versus 6 of us, and we had barrels. So Gordie's like, yeah, back of the barrel. I was like, okay, if it doesn't make a sound in the back of the barrel, it doesn't count. Not a goal, yeah. So these fucking dudes lit us up, and Gordie Howe slashed the shit out of us. And we get close. He's like, oh, hey, fatty, it's been a minute. I was like, oh my God, he remembered me. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So that's I've played hockey for a very long time.
So you played hockey
for a very long time, and yeah, that's my Gordie Howe stories.
Damn.
But yeah, like if it wasn't for Gordie Howe, the Whalers would never have gone to the NHL, because his son was the person who got drafted and made that happen. And at the time, it made sense because the way travel worked, it was in between Boston and New York. It was just part of the travel, like ease of travel.
Right. Yeah.
You just hop on a bus and bang,
right,
there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
The Whalers existed before the NHL. The WHA, I think. They have a different logo. It's a whale with like a harpoon. Look up like classic Whalers.
Is the harpoon
logo.
Like sticking in?
It's
him?
like no, it's like a cross. It's like across the whale, and it's like got a. Like,
that's so messed up to have a whale.
It's not in the thing that you kill
him with.
Oh yeah. Yes. But yes, the Whalers. The Whalers are.
Wait, I see a harpoon. New England Whalers.
New England Whalers. Yes.
Okay, so it's not. I see a W with a harpoon. I don't see a whale with a harpoon.
Oh, okay. Well, there's like 4 different ones. But yeah, that is also a beloved logo. So about the Carolina Hurricanes, they actually, I don't know if you're familiar with Cooperalls.
No.
So Cooper was a hockey company, and they had basically a shell that you could pull over pants that they didn't have like the nylon bits on the side. It was basically just like pads that were in in like a mesh, and then your shin pads, you pull them up and they looked like slacks.
Okay.
Those were Cooperalls. And it's a long standing like, are we going to work or are we going to play? What's happening? And some of the fans were like, these look so stupid, blah, blah, blah. But they wore those during warm-ups, and it was hardcore nostalgia.
Okay.
It was so nostalgic.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So anyway.
Nice.
Whalers tangent.
We're breaking open the sherry cask
now. So this is Riv Salt. It's like sherry. I'm very curious to hear how you feel about this after going from the bourbon.
Just in case we have listeners out there that aren't sure what we're talking about when we talk about these casks, a Scotch is, well, whiskeys in general, they're aged in barrels, wooden, like oak wood casks. A Scotch is aged in a cask that had another type of spirit or liquor in it. So although we are drinking Scotch, when we said this is a bourbon cask, it means that it was aged in something that once was storing bourbon. So this one is now aged in a cask that was storing something that resembles a sherry, but I keep forgetting.
Yeah, it's reef salt.
Reef
It's
salt.
like it's almost like a sherry. It's still a sweeter, but I think this is on the drier side.
Okay.
That's part of what they like that berry. It gives it the darker hue.
I think it's a great time to do. Let's cheers to this new Scotch, and I want to touch on a slightly different topic.
Sure.
You can even smell the sweetness off of this.
Yeah. And like I said, it's really interesting hearing which people like which one more. I love it. I love it.
So from this one, I'm getting a little bit more bitterness, I feel.
Also, the cube has melted a little bit, so you're probably going to notice it's a little bit less hot. Just like a little bit less.
I'm picking up heat.
Oh no,
this.
definitely.
I was about to say. I think in general it might be. I'm picking up the back of my mouth right now is feeling. And by the way, when you're tasting liquors, I always thought it was weird, but I've literally read a book where there's something called a mouthfeel, which is such a weird word or whatever. But and different parts of your mouth and tongue react to different flavors. So oftentimes people will, that when they're tasting a drink, they'll be like, "Oh, the back of my mouth, the front of my mouth, or whatever." Like, this, I'm feeling, I'm feeling this more towards the back of my throat. It lingers. I feel the heat lingers in this one a little bit more. I'm a little.
But it's
taken back by that.
But it plays differently on the palate.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
These taste like two completely different.
Wild.
Yeah, completely different.
And I feel like I need to add this as a Scotch, as a long-time Scotch drinker.
It's your Scotch. Let's do it.
It's my Scotch, yes.
Yeah,
But
right.
it's just Scotch in general, right? So a lot of times people will say, well, you can't have that Scotch like that.
Right.
Fuck them. Fuck them.
I'm with you on this.
If somebody like takes a Scotch and it's a 25-year-old Scotch and they just want to drink it straight, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that. However, chemically, there is a difference.
Yes.
So like as Scotch ages, the molecules actually get tighter. So they just tighten up and tighten up and tighten up and tighten up. That's part of where the angel share comes from. Have you heard about that term?
No.
So when you fill a barrel, right, there's like this much on the top. That's air.
Okay.
And then after it's, aged, there's like this much.
Oh.
So they call it the angel's share because the angels took their share of the Scotch.
Wow.
So, but two things actually happen. One of them is in the aging process, some of it actually goes into the wood, but a lot of times the molecules legitimately get tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter.
Wow.
What is a substance that would open those up? Let's see if this chemistry has worked for you. See if you retain any of that knowledge from high school.
Would water open that up?
Absolutely.
Right.
So if you ever go to like a Scotch bar or any, like, especially in Scotland, you'll see these like little coffee creamer pourers. They're filled with water.
Wow.
Yeah. You just give it a blessing.
Oh,
That's
wow.
it. 1 or 2 drops of water is all you need.
To open it up.
Right. Some people like a
I've
little
heard
bit more.
the term to open it up. Now I know exactly why.
Some people like a little bit more. Some people like a little bit less. Me, I prefer an ice cube and let it melt a little bit. It has the same effect. Some people like both. Depending on what scotches I'll drink, I like a different combination here and there. Like Lefroy, I love Lefroy. Campfire in your mouth, it's wonderful. But sometimes if it's like a cask strength Lefroy,
Okay.
I need an ice cube and some water, just because my throat's like.
I'm with you whenever, especially when it comes to just doing like a straight alcohol.
Yeah.
However you want it is usually. I know that there's this idea that like the higher end that it is, the less you want to like mess with it.
And that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Also, if Scotch doesn't age when it's put into a bottle, it's done. Once it comes out of a cask, it's done. Just letting people know, hey guys, that Johnny Walker Red that's been sitting on your counter,
it's not getting any.
it's not getting any better. Just drink it. Scotch is for drinking.
I've always found, here's where I do judge a little bit in how you take a spirit or something, because I've had this happen a number of times where it's, as a bartender, where it's enough where it's a thing, and this is where I think people are perhaps misusing the better spirits, and it happens more with tequila. They'll order like a top shelf tequila, like let's say Clase Azul is the very popular, expensive tequila, and they'll be like, I want a margarita, but I want it with Clase Azul. Like at that point, like you're taking the tequila and
first of all,
wait, have you never heard of this?
What kind of margarita?
Oh, just
are you doing like a legit margarita, or are you doing a frozen margarita?
No, not a frozen one.
Okay,
I've never made a frozen one with Clase Azul.
Right?
That would be honestly, that would be actually like a thing. Like if we're pushing Clase Azul for frozen margaritas, because that takes like pre-batching and shit. No. I've been asked multiple times to do like either a margarita with either a Clase Azul or the other popular, very expensive tequila that I'll do is a Don Julio 1942. When they ask me to do that in a tequila, I'm always a little like, you're not doing. Now I feel like you're not doing it right. But if you want to do it neat, rocks, water,
sure,
even that's fine. None of those bother me at all. It's when you want them in a mixed drink. Like the craziest thing is someone once asked me for a Long Island iced tea with only top shelf liquor, and I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about at all.
What?
Yeah.
What kind of heretic is this? Like what kind of? No. We need to find this person, and we need to stand on their lawn with our pitchforks and our torches and ask them, not angrily, but we need to be like, what were you doing? What were you thinking? And then when they're like, oh, this is just really, and then we just walk away kindly and gently.
It's happened to me at least 3 times.
So wild.
And recently too was the last time. Top shelf Long Island iced tea.
Like.
I literally, honestly, every time I've just said no.
Okay, so you mentioned monkey shoulder earlier.
Yeah.
I love monkey shoulder.
Oh, you do?
Do you know why?
Tell me.
Because it's a wonderful mixer. It was designed for the beverage industry. Make a sour mix. Use monkey shoulder for a whiskey sour. It is the best whiskey sour.
I've never had a Scotch sour specifically.
Bro.
Yeah.
The thing with monkey shoulder, first of all, do you know where the term comes from?
Monkey shoulder?
Yeah.
No, not at all. Actually.
I love learning you. Making Scotch, like I said before, was the same. It's the same process. And on the malting floor, it's just this basically warm floor that people just stand on, and it's a toasting floor. And you shovel, you turn the barley, turn, shovel, and turn. After years and years, you get an overdeveloped shoulder on one side, so they called it the monkey shoulder. It's like, oh, you've got a little bit of a monkey shoulder, don't you? So yeah, that's where that term comes from. But yeah, they don't say where they blend it from. But I've never had had a batch of monkey shoulder where I was like, this is dog shit. Mm-hmm. It seems like it's from distilleries that I would normally go to for single malts. I'll tell you, it really is the best. It's the best whiskey sour I've ever had. With a monkey shoulder and like a well-made sour mix. Done. In fact, there was a bar that I used to go to pretty frequently when I lived here. No longer, it's not the same, but my friend, he was the creative director, owner thing. I'm not even sure.
Yeah.
But we became friends. They had this dude. I tried to get people from Paragon to come, but no one was. They just didn't. He had a High Life pony, just like a pony drink, just the smaller 8 ounce maybe.
I don't know.
A shot of whatever whiskey was on the special, and a hot dog, $6.
Whoa.
Happy hour.
Yeah.
Done.
Whoa,
right.
That's great.
And it wasn't very far. Boom. I would just show up and be like, I'm here.
By Paragon?
No.
Oh, so you're trying to organize something like
it was on
afterwards.
Stanton and Christie, and I was like, guys, come on. And then people were like, no, I don't really want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to go out. I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But where I worked at Apple, it was real close. I was on Prince Street.
Oh,
so I was
that's a dope
right
one.
over there. Yeah, I was at the Soho store. I walked right over there. I was like, I'm here. He's like, I'm coming in for a MacBook tomorrow. I'm like, that's fine. You can use my discount. Sounds great.
I worked at the Coach store in that area right before I was at Paragon. West Broadway and Prince.
Yeah.
So you guys are right there.
Oh yeah. It was a very interesting time, a very interesting place.
You know what? I'm gonna stop you right there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take a bathroom break. I don't know if you want to take one too. If you're good, all right, cool.
I'm fine.
You have the bladder of a,
let's
man.
Let's not talk about
man's
that.
bladder.
I have been referred to as a camel before.
So I'm gonna literally, I'm gonna just leave this recording because it's easier for me to just edit if it's one long file. But I'm gonna do this clap thing. And technically, you're being recorded. So
No, that's fine. No. I'm going to take this opportunity. You can use this for outtakes.
You know what? Yeah. Do
for real.
The one-man show.
Sure. I'm not going to do that. We can talk about that. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing great on time.
Yeah, we're doing all right.
Okay, cool.
You know what? You take over for about
all right.
2 minutes.
I'll take over for 2 minutes. I think, friend, you are being very liberal with your time estimate, but that's fine. 2 minutes. 2 minutes is a long time. It's a long time. Clock is ticking. Oh man, I'll tell you what. Like it's fucking wild. Will's gonna listen back to this, and I don't know. Recently in my journey of life, I've kind of it's been very circuitous. My whole life has, and it's really wild to reconnect with people who you cross paths with earlier on, right? And now we have social media, and there's been a time where oh yeah, I followed Will forever. He's followed me, and we've been friends. And I shoot a hey, how you doing every once in a while, yeah, big ups, you're doing great. But it's really great. It's really fantastic to reconnect with these people, and take the opportunities as you can. Take the opportunities as you can.
Did you time me?
I did actually, and it worked out just right. Oh no! You're gonna listen back. You're gonna listen back, and you're gonna be like, "You sentimental son of a bitch." Okay.
I don't like sentiments. I don't like emotions.
Oh, stop it!
That shit.
Stop it.
Okay,
so let's talk about something that I don't know really matters.
So, Gaza.
Oh God! Here we go.
Actually, before we get into, I did want to talk about something specific.
Yeah.
But before I just wanted to briefly touch on your BJJ.
Sure.
Your Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been doing that?
At this point, maybe 5-6 years.
Okay. I feel like when we were at Paragon, you said that you used to do it and then fell out of it, but then you got back into it, no?
So what happened was, I was training with a guy. Hey, buddy.
It's a girl. She's a girl.
It still can be a buddy. Buddy's a friend.
She's my baby girl.
Oh, hey. Girl.
Literally, my cat was sleeping in a closet for this entire show and just decided to come out right now.
Yeah, I was like, hey.
Hey, hello, baby girl. You're stuck in this room right now. So.
She's like, well, here we are.
Yeah, so,
So I trained. I trained. It was more stand up, more Muay Thai, more Jeet Kune Do type stuff. And then that's when I went to boarding school to play hockey. So once I learned about beer and girls, I kind of stopped. It's not like that. That didn't really do anything for me at the time, but whatever. It was I learned about them, but I didn't do anything about it. So yeah, I basically learned it. And at that time, that was when UFC was a thing. Uh-huh. So everyone in the martial arts community was like, we got to know how to grapple.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
And then I started doing it and I was like, okay, cool. And then I left boarding school and then went back to a public school for my last year. And I wrestled and I was like, I really do like grappling. But the last 15 seconds of the last regular season practice before our state championships, I broke my ankle.
Wait, practice? You said
practice.
You broke your ankle.
I broke it
because that was going to be one of my questions.
I've got 3 screws in that bad boy.
How did that happen?
So I was doing a throw called a button hook or a head chancery.
Okay.
So head is here, underhook, and then basically you take whatever leg is on the hook side or the headlock side, and you just draw it back. Mm-hmm. Because of body mechanics, the body just kind of falls flat, and then you go. Well, the dude was much taller than I was, and he slipped because we were training hard and the mats were super, super wet. I planted my foot. All of our combined 600 pounds of weight went that way, but my ankle stayed straight. Now I broke my fibula and not my tibia, so I could put weight on it.
Wait. You broke your fibula as well?
No, I broke my fibula.
Oh, I thought you said you broke your ankle.
That was the ankle.
I thought fibula was like
the lower bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean the scar is right. It's right.
I'm
there,
good.
All the way down.
So, as someone that's never, I don't even know if this is real wood, but
Yep, I get you.
I've never broken a bone.
That you've known about.
Right? Yeah, you're right. True.
Yeah, I've broken playing hockey. I've gotten X-rays of my hands, and they're like, "How many times have you broken your fingers?" I was like, "I've never broken a finger." They're like, "Yes, you have." I was like, "I never knew I did."
Wow.
Catching pucks and stuff, but whatever.
I wouldn't be surprised if I had something like that. Yeah. But for the sake of transparency, I'm a bitch and I've never had a bone broken, but also not even like a torn ligament, nothing like that. There was once that I went to the hospital because I thought I broke a rib. Turns out didn't break a rib, so I'm just a bitch.
That's nice.
Did you? So I've always been kind of I don't know, morosely mystified by
beautiful use of words
by the moment that it happened.
Oh, I'll tell you exactly what happened.
That's exactly. Yeah, I want you to walk me through the moment you broke your ankle.
This is what happened. I did the move, planted my foot, bang, bang.
You heard it, so you're saying that sound.
So I'm gonna. This is what it sounded like because we're gonna use some radio theater.
Images.
Yep. Shake, just like shake. Plant. Ah! It was like a 3-second space because then I stepped down on it. I lifted my foot up, then I stepped down on it. I fell flat on my back, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I couldn't fucking stand. It was so incredibly painful because of whatever. I thought like the adrenaline did what it could.
I've always
my
heard like
coach came over. He stepped on my face. He was like, "Get the fuck up! What are you doing? What are you doing?" I was like, "I can't stand Lawless. I can't do it." And he's like, "Try, get up." 20 minutes later, I eventually get up. There's more. There's always this like, I feel like a Ron Popeil commercial half the time. I'm alive. Oh, but
no
wait.
idea what that means.
Oh man, the pocket fisherman. But wait, there's more.
Oh, okay.
That guy, Ron Popeil.
That's just an infomercial.
It is an infomercial, but wait, there's more. I feel like that's every part of my life, like every part of the stories that I tell people.
Quick sidebar: I never knew those guys got paid based off every product they sold.
Oh yeah, that's why it was just
that's why the ShamWow guy was like,
oh man.
I think he used to say, "But wait, there's more." Was he the slap chop?
Yep. The slap chop.
But wait, bikini, zucchini,
the whole thing.
And then he bit a prostitute, and his career was over.
I think he did a lot of things. I think he did a lot of things. You know, you live.
All right, so you broke your fibula, and your coach was stepping on your face.
He was, because it was the last. We were fired up. We were going into states. We were going to crush everybody, and here I am, this dude, a heavyweight. The super heavyweight broke his ankle. Done. I was done. We didn't know I was done though. I thought it was just a sprain.
So it didn't look broken
at the time. No. So, and for a show of solidarity, we decided to go to one of the other players' house or dad's salons to go get our hair dyed blue because we were like, yeah, we're gonna do it. So I'm sitting in a salon chair.
It's the least toughest.
I know.
Least toughest like show of solidarity for a combat sport.
Okay.
Hey guys, you know what you do?
High school wrestling.
Be unbeatable. Let's go to my dad's salon.
That's exactly how it was. So we did.
And let's get our hair dyed.
Yes, that's exactly what we did. So But we didn't.
There's
it was
a
small
reason.
town in Connecticut,
That's
man.
when you broke your fucking fibula. It wasn't on the
No.
mat.
That's when I broke my heart.
Wait, you had hair back then.
I had hair back then. I did. I had hair back then. I still have a little bit now, but it's not the same.
What'd you get dyed? Your beard? Your sideburns?
Oh man, the whole But for real, no, I
I've
did
never
have
known you
hair
with
back
hair.
in high school.
Okay.
But yeah, in high school, so many years ago, it really was. Oof.
Are you younger than me? I was born in 87.
I was born in 81.
Oh, never mind.
It's okay.
Oops.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry. That's the
It's
meanest thing
okay.
I've said to
It's
you.
okay.
all
It's
show.
not mean. It's not mean. So we'll
so
get back.
old.
I'll mention something about BJJ in a minute, but this is kind of like how grappling sports kind of came. So then that whole thing happened, broke my ankle, blah 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 blah. Moved back to Philly, and then I was working at Apple at the time, and we started talking about
Oh, this is
me.
when you were at Apple.
I was still I started at Apple in New York, and then my ex and I moved to London, and I worked at Apple while I was in London.
Wow, dope.
It
They
was
were
really
they
cool.
were really good with you in transferring.
They
them.
were phenomenal.
That's awesome,
They
dude.
were phenomenal. Apple,
Were you with your girl while I knew you?
yeah. I got married when you knew me.
Wait, why do I?
Yeah, it was quick. It
I'm
was
suddenly
bing, bang, boom.
having the like fucking
Bing, bang,
It was
boom.
you guys weren't together that long before you guys got
About a
married?
year because it was long distance, and she lived in Toronto and I lived here, and that's the whole thing.
Okay.
I hope she's happy and thriving, and I'm glad that I don't know her anymore.
Ooh, really? Okay.
Put it that way.
Got
Put
it.
That way.
Got it.
Again, like it is what it is.
How long were you guys together?
5-ish years.
Okay.
5-ish. But things didn't really start to unravel until we moved to Philly. But anyway, back to where jiu-jitsu came into my life, and I hate saying it, it's so cliche. Jiu-jitsu saved my life. I hate it, but it's a thing.
Why do you hate it?
Because it's so cliche.
You
It's
met
like,
a lot
we
of
get it.
you met a lot of people that say the same thing.
Oh yeah, dude! If you go on Reddit and you just go into like r/BJJ
Mm-hmm.
or r/jiu-jitsu, you're gonna see like jiu-jitsu saved my life.
What do you
People
think
do full story.
about jiu-jitsu is does that for so many people,
Oh man,
including you?
this is huge. So jiu-jitsu specifically, I feel as someone with the brain that I have, is it provides a level of context to life through consistency that a lot of people might not understand. So you go in, you put your gi on, or sometimes no gi, depending on where you're training.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that like mini ritual of getting ready. You go out, you learn technique, and then you apply it. And then you do it the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And once you there's a moment where it happens to people who are in the sport for long enough where that they see the consistency turn over into something tangible, something usable, something real. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they take that concept and they go, wait, if I just did this to how I looked at my job, how I looked at my relationship, it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be huge at all, but it has to be consistent. Okay. And if it doesn't work today, that's okay. I can revisit it tomorrow. If it doesn't work tomorrow, I can revisit it the next day. As long as that consistency exists, I can still work with it. So yeah, that's one of the big things for me in jiu-jitsu. Cause there wasn't Herb, I love you, brother. He was training in a different place in Philly.
Just some dude, you know?
Some dude I worked with at Apple in Philly.
Oh.
We started talking about UFC and he goes, you really know what you're talking about. I was like, yeah. He's like, did you train? And back to what we were talking about before, I trained before I learned about beer and girls. And the thing was,
I did a lot of things before I learned about beer and girls too. Yeah.
And but the thing was, like, the place that I was training, it was like a practical self-defense situation kind of thing. So like we looked at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because people were, and now that I know, the UFC 1, 2, and 3 were basically made by the Gracies
Yeah.
specifically to sell Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
that whole thing is wild. Whole thing is wild, but it's effective. So
I feel like you've definitely seen that documentary about the Gracies and
yeah, maybe, probably.
I don't know. You feel like, anyways, go on.
So yeah, like, and then he's like, yeah, well, you should train again. I'm going to go to this new place, like opened up recently. It's apparently really beautiful. So I walked in and the black belt wasn't there.
Okay.
So there was a purple belt who was teaching, and his name was Kyle. I love Kyle. I miss Kyle. Such a sweet boy. He's black belt now. But yeah, I was like, no, this place feels good. I'm going to hang out here. So I started training there, and then things kind of happened with the ex. So then I moved about 500 yards away from that gym. So I started going to morning classes and night classes. Wow. So I was going twice a day for like
you were using
3
it
years.
like a
Therapy.
Yeah.
It was absolutely therapy.
It's like when people that need like Alcoholics Anonymous and they need to go to 2 meetings a day, that's what you were doing.
Yes. So part of my my brain, and I say that specifically because I just got diagnosed with level 1 autism.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's happening a lot now. It's a new trend.
Here it is, but it makes sense with me.
Okay.
So I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was
didn't
a
know there were
teenager.
levels to it, by the way.
It's the thing is, because it's such a spectrum, there's still a lot that's being understood.
So that's all I hear. There's a spectrum,
Yeah.
and like you don't know who's on what side of the spectrum. You're saying you were officially diagnosed,
Yeah.
so okay, you're not one of those people that saw a TikTok video and were like, "That's me."
So here's the thing: I saw a bunch of TikTok videos, and I was like, but for real though, I was like, there's too much of a pattern for me to not at least go out and try this. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I need to know, because I was diagnosed with adult ADD in the 90s. Adult ADD doesn't exist anymore. It's now all under the umbrella of ADHD.
Okay.
Now, it's so interesting because so there's level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 1 is basically you don't really need support to exist. And then there's existences. I'm like, if this is the spectrum of level 1, I'm like over here.
So
right?
what do you think it is about your where can we identify your autism, I guess? I've never
ASD.
Okay, I've never really spoken to someone. Well, I'm sure I've spoken to people that are afflicted by this, but I've never I guess probed questions.
Sure.
You said you were recently diagnosed.
November. Yeah.
Was there something that made you want to try to figure this out?
100%.
Okay.
So I was at my regular 9 to 5, and I was
That you do now?
Yeah.
Which is what?
I work in IT.
Oh, never mind.
Information technology.
Moving on.
When the information is mediocre and the technology is just the same. So specifically, I work at a nonprofit that deals
Wait,
with...
you're autistic and work in IT? I'm
just
shocked.
Wait for it. But wait, there's more.
There's more.
So the place that I work at is a nonprofit called The Arc, and okay, so it's an acronym, or it was an acronym, and it stands for. It was made in 1952. Remember this. It stands for the Association of Retarded Citizens. That's what the ARC stands for.
Got it.
Right. That's when it was made. That's when it was made. So, understanding that. But now it's
podcast ruined. You ruined it.
Ruined my day.
Ruined it.
Ruined my day. Ruined my day.
Ruined my podcast.
Ruined the cast. Ruined the pod.
You ruined the cast.
Ruined the pod. Ruined the pod.
Ruining the cast with Josh Wagner.
But right, that's kind of important because they still service people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Mm-hmm. Like that's really what it is. But they kept the ARC, ARC. It's a national organization that
they just don't say what the R is that often anymore.
It's an operation that exists nationally,
but
it operates regionally.
That reminds me of the NAACP.
Yep. They don't say the N anymore.
No. The N is fine. It's not. I don't know if you know what the N stands for in NAACP.
I thought there was a whole thing where they changed the
It's
whole lettering scheme.
What do you think the N stands for in NAACP?
Am I thinking of something?
It's the National Association for some shit of colored people. It's the colored people that gets the drawback.
Oh, no.
But apparently you thought...
You got me. I'm just making jokes, man.
Sure.
Of course I knew what it was.
Fuck you. Shut up. Anyways. Man.
That's what happens when you drink scotch. I'm just warning you. That's what happens when you drink
Scotch. You literally hit on exactly what I wanted to hit on when we talked about jiu-jitsu, because I wanted to ask if you ever... I wanted to ask if you ever like saw any bad injuries, and you had one yourself. Did you witness anything else that like jarred you?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So I was training in Philly. All right. I feel like my jiu-jitsu journey has been incredible. The people that I've spoke to, that I've run into, that I've become friends with. So what happened with that place in Philly? The black belt? Bro, this is some tea. Not really, but kind of. Okay. So the guy that was running the school, he built the school. It looks great. It was wonderful. The mats looked nice. It was very boutique-y. It was, cool. So Morgan and Kyle, they were a couple. They basically were running it when, I'm not going to even mention his name. We'll call him the black belt. Okay. He was kind of doing his own thing. Okay. There was a silent partner. Now, there was this dude that rolls in one day, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to do a seminar. And he was known by Kyle. Now, his name was Christian Woodmansey. Christian.
But he was known as Kyle?
No, Kyle was the guy that brought him in.
Oh, got it.
Okay, yeah, Kyle brought him in, the purple belt that at the time. And Christian got his black belt from Andre Galvao, who is the head of Atos, which is one of the biggest, most winning jiu-jitsu spots, at least in this hemisphere. Okay. Yeah, and I've had the pleasure to meet Andre. I shook his hand. I thought he was gonna pull my wrist off. He's just a monster. He's a monster. Anyway, so Christian got his black belt from there. He's had a very interesting journey, but as an instructor, he has a very interesting way of instructing that's based on concepts. That's kind of like what I got. Like, that was my big thing. Mm-hmm. But he comes in, and without getting into too much, there was a falling out, and the black belt that was there originally disappeared. Gone. So Christian ended up taking over the school for the best. For the best. Oh my God. For
I
the
thought this was
best.
going down a
No.
dark...
For the best. Oh. It changed everything. Okay. And then that's kind of like when things started happening, and then the way that he started to talk about things and conceptualize things, that just changed the way that I viewed it, changed the way that everything kind of fell into place. Christian, as part of Atos, he was friends with all the American Atos guys. So Josh Hinger, JT Torres, Keenan Cornelius, those guys. Yeah. So Josh Hinger would show up one day, and this guy, he literally just won European, like the European Pans or whatever.
By the way, those names you listed, like high level,
very
level.
Now
players.
Christian he's a smaller guy, so he teaches.
Do you know what his weight is? What weight class would be?
Rooster. He's real small.
The fuck is Rooster? Like 115?
I think 125.
I thought 125 was bantam.
I think he's between 115 and 125.
Okay.
He's a small guy.
Jesus.
He's a very small guy, but he's wildly technical, incredibly technical. Mm-hmm. So that with me, like,
have you rolled with him,
Christian? No. Okay. We understand. We have an understanding.
What is that?
I am too big.
So I was gonna ask, can someone like that still get you? Or can you just...
it's not realistic.
Really?
It's not realistic at all. I could literally pick him up and throw him.
You are a blue belt?
I'm a purple belt.
You got to purple.
I'm almost a brown belt, but whatever.
Okay, dude.
Belts
All
really
right,
don't mean
nice,
shit.
nice. Congratulations. I thought you were just a blue belt, but because I've
okay.
always heard that white is like you're in, blue just means you didn't quit. Purple means you're sticking with it and are really doing it.
Oh, I have a. Now it's just a war of attrition. It's like I'm finishing this.
So as good as he is at rooster weight, there comes a point where the size and the weight is just too much.
So one day we had a conversation. I was like, Christian, I just did. He goes, never.
Really?
Yeah, and it was mostly, and he's like, and he laid it out, and I'm like, I get it. You are just too big. You can sit on me, and there's nothing that I can do. It doesn't matter. Our weights are so different that, like, the whole idea of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to be able to control someone who's bigger than you.
Right. Which is why I've always had this fantasy that if I, by the way, I'll never learn jiu-jitsu as well as I ever fantasize about it. But
Are you training?
No, never.
You should. It's great.
You're right. I've taken a bunch of classes back in the day, but I never was in a.
I know some people who help you out in the city.
Listen, maybe this is the beginning of a new. Yeah.
Hey, we'll talk about that later.
All right.
We'll talk about that later.
But I've always found like I have this. I don't know if it's a fucking fantasy dream or whatever. Whenever like I see a piece of crap like security guard treat like the little guy like shit, I'm like, if that motherfucker knew jiu-jitsu, he'd fucking kill him. But you're telling me probably not.
Well, here's the thing. It's to a point.
Are
That's
we down
the
for
thing.
one more?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's to a point, right?
It's your Scotch
So,
report.
would you want to stay here? Or you want?
I'm down
You
with
like this one?
Yeah, I'm down with that.
So we're going to talk about tasting notes. We're going to talk about all that stuff in a minute. But it's to a point, right? So I'm 300 pounds, right? I'm 300 pounds.
Yeah, you know what? We never established that for anyone that's, because this is going to be on audio, but on YouTube as well. But anyone that wasn't watching, I guess maybe you
I'm
didn't
a large
realize.
mammal.
Yeah,
I am
Josh
not
is
a
a big
small
guy.
guy.
I think you might have been the person that taught me what a bear was too.
It's possible. It's definitely
You
possible.
told me you do really well in gay bars.
Oh my god! Oh, talk. So when we were in Edinburgh, like one of the one of the people one of the groups that was at our same venue. We were teching the same time. It was the London Gay Men's Chorus, and they were like, "Ooh, who's that?" My face was on the fucking poster.
Yeah,
on the poster for the Tempest, a musical enchantment.
Tempt me, baby girl.
Yeah, so that was funny. But then one of the guys, so Jarrell, very open, love him. Oh my god, I miss Jarrell. I hope he's doing well. But they came up to him, and one of the guys was like, "Ooh, who's the bear on the poster?" And he's like, "That's Josh. He's straight." And they're like, "That's okay. Never stopped me before." And I was like, "Wait a minute." We ended up going out drinking with them, and they were like, "Okay, this is real fun." I'm like, "I'm going to bed now, guys. Have a great one." Anyway. So yes, bears.
I'm almost positive I learned
probably
what
told
a
you that.
bear
I probably
was.
told you that
I did
story.
not know what that was before you.
So yes, I'm 300 pounds ish. That's kind of where I walk at. I'm a bit, I'm diabetic now.
Oh, you are?
So yeah, I was fighting genetics for years, and so that may change in the coming months, but we'll see.
I hope so. Do you cut weight for competitions?
Me? No. Okay. Absolutely not. I fight at ultra heavy, so it's basically, I think, depending on where you go, it's like 270 and up.
Is that the heaviest?
Yes.
Yeah.
If there's no limit after that one, ultra heavy.
Have you ever faced someone bigger than you then?
Every single time.
Really?
I'm the small side of ultra heavy.
Wow.
Yes.
Is that rough for you then?
Sometimes. Sometimes it's not. The thing with jiu-jitsu is, if you understand angles and body mechanics, things get easier. So when I like, I'm more on the sports side than the self-defense side. So that was more. So I focused more on the sports side when I was in Philly with Christian, and then when I moved back to Connecticut, funny, I met the guys that I train with now at Christian's seminar that he did in Manchester, Connecticut. And I was like, Christian, you're coming to Manchester? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, I'm going to go visit my parents and I'm going to go to the seminar. He goes, awesome. I'll see you there. So yeah. So I went to the seminar and he would joke and stuff. He'd be like, yeah. Don't listen to this guy. Don't listen to anything that he does. No. This guy, no. He's an anomaly.
You're the annoying piece.
Yeah,
of
like,
shit.
oh yeah, Barambolo, he'll Barambolo you. But he's too big to Barambolo. Don't say that. So, so I was learning small guy jiu-jitsu as a big guy, and then opening up a whole different world. But these guys that
I've
I train
heard
with
that.
now,
Not to cut you off. I've heard that the small guys tend to be better at technique.
yes.
Because big guys rely on their just ability to overpower.
So this is okay. Booze, thanks. Kind of took me off the rails a second. So that's what it is, right? That's what's to a point. There's a level of weight that is just an empirical thing. Once the scales tip too far, that's when it's just like, yeah, there's literally no context. Or no context.
No technique in the world
Doesn't matter.
Right.
So
Okay.
like if I'm outweighing someone by 200
like
plus
you and
pounds,
me. You and me right now. Yeah, I would have no. Even if you never trained.
yes.
Well,
No.
put it this way: if you were a white belt and I was a purple belt,
So we'll put it this way. There's the reason that the belt levels exist and weight levels exist. If we were the same belt level and we went against each other, I'm probably going to win. Like literally exactly the same if we've been training the same amount of time based on weight.
okay,
Now, if you have been training for years longer than I have,
Okay.
then the equilibrium starts to get closer.
got it.
But there's still a point where it's like, bro, there's too much. There's
Right.
too much. However, one of Christian's friends, Josh Hinger, every time I see him, it's kind of a joke. He's like, all right, whoever wins, their name doesn't get to be Josh anymore. And I was like, let me get the form, buddy. Let me start writing it out. Because he's a monster. He's such a sweet guy. And he's a great instructor. But he's a monster. Like he's an absolute monster. And there were a couple times where there was one time where I was like kind of gassed out, and I don't know what I did, but I was like, not bad for a 42-year-old. He goes, "You're 42?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Are you 42 right now?
Shit. Yeah, right now.
Oh, you look great for 42, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like to think that it's
The Scotch.
it's in this.
Then let's
Yes.
have some more of it. Nice.
Slancha. I like to think that it's that. It's just preserving whatever's inside. But yeah, jiu-jitsu has been such a great thing in my life. Getting back to, sorry to be disjointed, but I have a little bit of a buzz because I had like 3 grapes this morning.
Listen, I've never fucking shied away from the fact that I get drunk on this.
No,
podcast.
fair enough. Fair
I
enough.
don't
Fair
give a
enough. Fair
fuck,
enough.
dude. Yeah, it's sidebar.
Yeah.
I was at this networking event for podcasters, and there were people there like, "Oh, I do a podcast for women's health." And then there's like, "Oh, I do a podcast for women's empowerment." And someone else was like, "I do a podcast for self-growth and marketing." And someone was like, "I teach you how to find your inner self." And they got to me and I was like, I get drunk every week and just record.
That's what I'm talking about.
And then the next person was like, I make a grieving podcast because I just lost my wife. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Well, so the person that I was with last night, she was like, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow?" I was like, "I'm going to be on a podcast with a friend who I haven't
Yeah.
seen in 8-10 years."
It's exciting,
She's
right?
like, "Oh my God." I was like, "Yeah, it's going to be great.
It's cool.
I was like, "I have no idea what we're going to talk about, but we're going to be drinking scotch."
It's a cool thing to say that you're doing tomorrow. Though,
Oh, 100%.
right? Yeah.
Oh, man. The social capital that I got from that.
Really? I'm doing a podcast.
You're on a podcast? Excuse me? I was like that. So, but this actually piggybacks to something that is interesting for me. So the way Christian, my first real coach, And I'll always like, he's become a friend. Like his wife and kid are amazing. And he's a good dude and he's a great instructor. Like it's one of those things like, dude, anytime you're in the area, let's get you in. I don't care how much it costs. I don't care your fees, all this. Let's get you to a seminar to teach the people. Let's do it. Yeah, I'll front it. I'll straight up front. I'll be like, dude, yes, your knowledge. No, I'm not teaching.
Oh, I thought you were teaching. Oh, got it.
No, I'll be like, confused. Bro, come on. Like, please come.
Got it.
Please come. Please. Like, it doesn't matter. Whatever you've got is important for people to understand.
Mm-hmm.
But his method of teaching laid down this idea. I made an app. Did I tell you about that? Dude, did you see that? You want to talk about that?
I do. Actually, you know what? All right, here's what I'm going to do. Since you're such a skilled radio tour.
I didn't make the app.
No. Well, hold up. We're going to get on that app. I'm going to take another bathroom break, but we're not even fucking... There's no break here. You're just going to take over.
I'm going to do it again?
Oh, yeah. You do it again. I love when I have someone that's actually good at talking. That's
okay. I'm good at talking. That's you're good at talking, bro. Don't fuck it up. See, now he says don't fuck it up, and I'm gonna fuck it up. Oh, cat, go make it. The cat made it. She made it. She did it. Oh, yay, kitty. Yeah, man, it's crazy. Like having a conversation with that you haven't seen someone in years, and it's like, what have you been up to? What haven't I been up to? You know. And Will and I will catch up and I'll hear all of his stuff. But, you know, here I am for content. Just this fat, mediocre white guy, middle-aged white guy, fat, mediocre, middle-aged white guy on a podcast. But it's not my podcast. That's a whole thing. It's a whole vibe. It's a vibe. That's what the kids are saying now, right? It's a vibe. But, yeah. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I don't know. Man. And then there's like Christopher Walken. Baby, man, this guy is coming in, he's sitting down, he's doing his thing, he's coming from the bathroom. What are we going to do? I don't know.
That seemed like a pretty good spot to put a pin in it, as I like to say. Because it's funny, I tried. I went into this episode with Josh with the intentions of perhaps going an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I quickly realized that was just not going to be possible, not with as much as Josh and I wanted to keep talking to one another. So I had a little time before work. I actually recorded this episode before I had to go into work. I do not remember the first hour of work because we continued pouring that scotch that you just heard about throughout the entire nearly 4-hour conversation that we had. We went about 3 hours, 45 minutes, and I figured right here is a good place to stop for now. In the next episode, we're going to get into a little bit more of his BJJ. We're going to talk about the main reason he's even in town, a one-man show that he's trying to throw and obviously star in. And we're actually going to get into some more personal things in his life. He tells us how he has been medically diagnosed with a type of autism, and we actually get into the diagnosis and the, how his life has been since then. And we do that all while pounding more of his very own scotch, which you heard about. I look forward for you guys hearing that in a week. Until then, though, you know what time it is. It's that time of the show where I just shamelessly plug myself. So, can I talk my shit again? You know where you can find me. It's 3 words. I'm Will Bryant. You can find me on Instagram, on X, on TikTok, on Twitch, even though I haven't done anything with that in forever, but I'm going to start, I promise. You can find me on Threads, even though I haven't done anything on that in forever, but I'm going to start, I promise. And you can find me on YouTube, where I will post the video versions of this show every week. Thank you for liking and subscribing if you have. If you haven't, get on that, or I swear to God, I will never talk to you again in my life. Besides that, you're dead to me, but I still love you, and thank you. Once again, follow me on all those platforms. That's 3 words. I'm Will Bryant, Bryant, like Kobe. Thank you as always. God, I still taste scotch in my mouth, I feel. Some good stuff. As I was saying, I love you guys. Till next time. Peace.